Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sports Lab Podcast, episode 33. My name's Thomas Bailey. Alongside me, Alex Miley, my good buddy here, as we get set to go for another episode here today, Alex. A lot of different news with the NFL. Obviously, Shakir extended for the Buffalo Bills. A few more extensions that we could see going on moving forward. And then on top of that, we also have the Four Nations, which just concluded a couple weeks ago. MLB season starting to kick up with spring training. The trade deadline for the NHL coming up around the corner on March 7th. And on top of that, you also have the free agency period starting, or I think March 13th for the
Yes,
NFL.
tampering's the
Right there.
11th, and then free agency starts the 13th.
Exactly. And so there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, but let's just get straight into it. Khalil Shakir, a 4-year, $60.2 million extension, $18 million for the first season, and in total, $32 million of that contract is guaranteed, just over half. What are your thoughts on the deal, and how do you like it moving forward for Buffalo?
This is the top 5 extension in Bean's career, I think. Josh Allen's first extension obviously won. I think then after that, you probably go Spencer Brown, Matt Milano, because you extended them before they turned into the elite players they
And
became
Johnson,
or are
maybe?
now. And then I think 4 and 5 is that first Teron Johnson extension and Khalil Shakir right here. I mean, everyone was expecting market value for Shakir being like $18 to $20 million. He just came off his best season. He's a third year in the league. Do it all, versatile guy, a glue guy kind of in the room, super reliable. Joe Brady and Josh Allen on third and fourth down, they're the guy that Shakir's the guy that they kind of rely on to go and get that first down with a lot of those weird circle motions and screens and crossers on those third and fourth and shorts to pick up those fourth down or pick up the first down. So I think he is very vital to this offense. I think outside of the 2 tackles and maybe James Cook, it's between him and James Cook for like the 4th and 5th most important players on this offense, in my opinion. I think he's that vital, and he's only going to continue to get better. He just turned 25 years old, so who knows? I still think he has another gear to unlock. I think if he can develop a little bit more of a vertical threat down the field, kind of like that one play against the Jets when he took that seam 80 yards to the house, if he can have more plays like that, yes, exactly, where it kind of opens us up down the field. He's never going to be a downfield burner. I don't really need that. He's our slot guy. I need him to continue to be this ultra reliable guy with elite yak ability. But if he could just develop a little bit more down the field, a little bit more of the middle of the field, I think he can kind of take that next step. And I'm expecting him to have like 1,000 catch, 1,000 yards, or not 1,000 catch, 100 catch, 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards, like in that range. Like 5-6 touchdowns is kind of like his ceiling. And that's like pretty good wide receiver 2 money. And that's what we're paying him is as a wide receiver 2. So, and the fact that they front loaded this 18 mil, so it opens up more money down the road. It's up to 60 mil, but it could, and I'm not sure the exact range, but I remember seeing up to 60 mil. So after the first year being 18, it could be like the next couple years be like 12, 13, maybe 14 for someone like Khalil Shakir. Absolute bargain. Only 32 mil guaranteed. So in case there's injuries, knock on wood, I don't want there to be, but like in case something happens, we'd be able to get out of that contract pretty easily. I don't think we'll need to, but it's always nice to have that security. So I think it's a great deal for both sides. Shakir being this 5th round pick earned himself a nice hefty payday, and the Bills kind of really saved a couple mil that is going to be needed with these upcoming extensions. Yes, so I love it.
Yeah, I like it as well. I mean, he's been a focal point of the offense for several years now. Obviously, this year, a lot more important, losing Diggs and Davis. Obviously, he's the big number 1 receiver, if you will. Keon Coleman in the draft, he's a rookie. He's going to have those growing pains, and we saw plenty of those this season. James Cook and Shakir were the 2 guys, in my opinion, that stepped up the most on this offense. And for that reason alone, he's just so important to the team and the fundamental aspect of the game, especially that offense that Joe Brady likes to run. He's an outlet for Josh Allen. He's the main focal point for a defensive opposing Josh Allen's team in the receiving game. And for those reasons alone, this extension was already a give-me. In my opinion, this was the easiest one. This is the one we knew we were going to get out of the way at some point this offseason. Better to get it out of the way now. We knew we were going to get him extended. $18 million in the first year. I don't like that it's front loaded, but unfortunately for other teams, this is not going to hurt us in this year. It will hurt us next year, if anything. But honestly, front loading, it's not the end of the world. Brandon Beane works his magic once again, gets him under the bargaining value as well. I think that's probably a big real reason why he didn't get as much per season, because he got so much in the first year. So I do think that this is an very good extension for the Buffalo Bills, and I think they're going to continue to move things forward here with these extensions. But speaking of those set extensions, there's still plenty of different players that need extensions, including players like McGovern, players like Benford, and players like James Cook. So I turn it over to you now. What is one player you want to see the Bills extend, and what do you think they will extend to, years and average salary for each season?
Yeah, I think the one that's being talked about the least, because he's not from like the draft class extensions, because there's Rousseau and then there's like the 4 from the draft class extension, which would be Cook, Bernard, Benford, and Shakir, which we just got. So there's the other guy he's not like coming off his rookie contract. We brought him over 2 years ago, and I wasn't even that big of a fan of the extension because I'm like, this guy from his numbers in Dallas are pretty mid. And that's Connor McGovern, but he has really stepped up and he's become a very good guard. He's the 3rd best offensive lineman on our team. Obviously, there's the 2 tackles. He's kind of the anchor in that interior. O'Cyrus Torrence is good, and then David Edwards is he's a good number 5 offensive lineman, I guess. If he's your worst offensive lineman, you have a pretty good O-line, but he's not anything special. But I love McGovern because he's extremely versatile. He can play center and he can play guard. So if there's wherever we put him, if there's an injury at another position, we could just slide him right over. No harm, no foul. He's shown he can play both at a great level. And I think he gets a little bit of a payday. His last contract is like 3 years. I think it was like 25 mil. I think this one, I think he'll get another 3 year, but I think it'll be closer to like 32 to 35 mil, probably like 20 mil guaranteed, where it's like the first 2 years are fully guaranteed. And then after that, it's kind of like at that point, he's going to be up there a little bit in age. If we need to get out of that contract 3 years down the line, we can, with not really having much dead cap. I know Beane loves to make contracts like that, where it's like usually at least the last year of the contract isn't guaranteed. So if we need to cut our losses, we can without much, or if we need to push money around the signing bonus things, move money down the road, we can do that easily. So I know Beane loves to do that. So I expect him to do it with a contract like McGovern's. So that's probably what I'm expecting. And yeah, I'd love to see that. I mean, if we extend him, it probably means O'Cyrus Torrence isn't getting an extension from us, because you can't pay 4 offensive linemen realistically, unless you're even the Eagles don't do that. Usually they pay 3 and then they kind of.
Torrence has got a couple years left before he needs an extension.
Well, yeah, he's a free agent in 2 years. I'm not saying, oh, we're going to cut him or trade him. I'm just saying after his 4 years are up, if we extend McGovern, there's a decent chance we probably let him walk. Just because,
or we extend McGovern, have him for 2 years, cut him, and then extend Torrence over him, considering he's going to be way younger.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
I guess depending if they give him the 3 years, I think that means Torrence probably walks, which will suck. But at the same time, I think Beane's done a pretty good job at like day 3, just drafting and stashing developmental guys to kind of sit and learn. And you just continue to draft one of those every year. Last year it was with Grable and Van Pran Granger. Alec Anderson and Vendemark have been good backup linemen. We'll probably maybe we'll draft another one this year. And you just keep drafting 1 or 2 of those guys every year. So in case we have to let one of them walk, we can slide someone in who knows the system. So that's kind of what I'm thinking will happen, is that we extend McGovern and in 2 years Torrence leaves, because you just can't really afford to pay 4 offensive linemen. Maybe we'll be able to work some magic, and with the cap continuing to go up the way it is, maybe we'll be able to keep 4, but I don't see it very likely.
Yeah, very, very fair. I guess on my end here, I'd go with Christian Benford as the number 1 guy that I'd want to be seeing extended. We don't have much corner space right now, considering he is our top guy. Rasul Douglas is slated to hit free agency, which more than likely is definitely going to happen. Damar Hamlin, who's one of our starting safeties, he's gone. Taylor Rapp's been struggling with injury. So in that secondary, who is it that is the number 1 guy? That's Christian Benford, hands down. I think it's the most important extension out of all the extensions here. Maybe James Cook, but even then, you still have Josh in the backfield there too. So I I do think that Benford is going to get a sizable extension, unfortunately, for our cap situation. But I think around 4 years, 68 million is where I'd put him. 17 million on average a season here. I think maybe like 36 to 40 million guaranteed, so 10 mil a season guaranteed would make a lot of sense for a player like Christian Benford. Maybe front load it or back load the contract based off of the Khalil Shakir move. We could see a front load happen once more, but I don't really like the idea of front loading 2 contracts. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. But I do think Christian Benford's going to be a sizable player here for Buffalo for many years. 6th round pick out of Villanova. We all know the story for him. He has the technique. He knows the system. And we have to be able to keep somebody in the secondary. Like you mentioned, can't pay 4 offensive linemen. We're not paying anybody in the secondary currently. And so because of that, I think that Benford can get that sizable extension that he's probably looking for, cash in off of his great capabilities. And you saw how bad it hurt when he got subbed out for Kaiir Elam in the conference championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So due to those reasons, I think that Christian Benford's slated to make a new basically pay grade on this Buffalo Bills defensive back. I can't remember the last D-back other than Tre'Davious White that we gave super big money to. That was the number 1 guy. And so because of that, I do think that you are going to have to go out there and give Christian Benford his money, and I think that it works out for both sides in this situation. Of course, other players, Greg Rousseau, that you could see an extension to, Terrell Bernard, of course, 3rd-round pick out of Baylor, and lastly, James Cook as well. So a lot of different things that you can see for this Bills offseason in regard to extensions. But moving into hockey, the Four Nations face-off, one of the best things we've seen in years in hockey. Better than the All-Star game by a mile for a lot of people. And what are your thoughts on the tournament itself? Obviously, Team USA beats Canada 3-1 in the first game. They meet again in the gold medal game, if you will, and Canada takes down the United States with a 3-2 overtime winner from Connor McDavid. What are your thoughts on the overall tournament and that game alone?
All right, so I'll start off with the game first. I wish I had the technology to go and post the clip of me talking about the Four Nations predictions, because I was spot on. Other than thinking Team USA would win just because I'm from USA, I was picking them. I was spot on. I said if Team USA loses, it would be for this reason. When it comes down to the game against Canada in the championship, we would not have enough goal scorers. We just did not have enough talent because Team USA were trying to outthink. I think they're trying to outsmart. It was the same thing that happened to Canada the last 2 years in the World Juniors. They decided to fill out a team instead of bringing over just the best players. And that's what they did. They were like, oh, on this 4th line, we want these guys who can kill penalties and are hard hitters. But they already have guys like that in their top 6. Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel can both run a fine penalty kill. Both the Tkachuk brothers are known for their physicality and their hard hitting. So you could have just had them on the PK. But what you were missing on that bottom 6 was like anyone who could score a goal. And Wano, who was sitting at home, 2 of the best goal scorers in the league, and Tage Thompson and Cole Caulfield. And in that final game with Matthew Tkachuk injured, Chris Kreider, they just weren't even playing because he sucks. They're halfway through the side. He got like 6 minutes in the champ. And then Vincent Trocheck. It's like those 3 guys, if you could have injury replaced Tkachuk with Jason Robertson, and then you could have put Caulfield and Thompson at the wings. That 4th line is very, very good, very skilled offensively. Yeah, you probably don't want them out there on a penalty kill, but that's what you can put Jack Eichel, the Tkachuk brothers, Austin Matthews, these players who are very good defenders, who are physical, who can get it done. And it's just extremely frustrating that is the result we got, but that's kind of what happens when you don't bring your best players. And in that 3rd period, when they were absolutely dominating, they couldn't put the puck in the net because we had about 3 guys, Brady Tkachuk, who wasn't healthy. I have 4 guys. Brady Tkachuk, who was battling injury. Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, and Jake Guentzel were like the only guys that were like consistently. And Austin Matthews even kind of disappeared. But like, so it was really just Jack Eichel, Jake Guentzel, and
it was Austin Matthews in a game that mattered.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Eichel, Brady Tkachuk on one leg, and Jake Guentzel, or who we were relying on to score for us. And then maybe, I guess, our defense core, who was also missing some key players in Quinn Hughes and Charlie McAvoy. But those are injuries you can't really – that's a little bit different. But, like, we just didn't have enough scoring ability. And when it came down to it, Canada, their superstar showed out. Connor McDavid showed why he is still the best player in hockey. I know people have been trying to debate Nathan McKinnon. You're wrong. You're stupid. It's Connor McDavid. And yeah, he did what he had to do. He put that puck away and they ended up winning the game. And Canada was able to rightfully talk their talk to us. I still hate Canada. Boo you. But yeah, that's what happened. Hopefully Team USA learned their lesson. And for the Olympics next year, they just send the 13 best forwards and the 7 best defensemen, or whatever the roster construction is.
Yeah, there was a lot of different things there. Of course, Jack Hughes leaving Connor McDavid wide open in the slot is probably not the best idea in overtime, but nonetheless, Team Canada does take home the victory in the Four Nations faceoff. But alas, Canada taking down United States. This was the best thing I've ever seen, really, in like forever in hockey.
Exactly.
This wasn't advertised nearly enough, in my opinion, for what the games actually provided. I watched from the very beginning game of Canada versus Sweden. The game was slow at first. Team Canada was dominating. And then all of a sudden, the third period was dominated by Sweden. They forced overtime. That was probably the best overtime I've seen in my life between Canada and Sweden in the first game. Mitch Marner potting the game winner in that game. Ton of different fun games in this series, though. Obviously, the only game at the end that I wish would have been for a little bit more meaning was United States and Sweden, being that those are the two countries I root for when it comes down to these four nations. So, unfortunately, United States not having much to play for, didn't really play their best game and got cooked at the end. So, realistically, I really wish that would have had a little bit more implications on it. But nonetheless, this was an amazing tournament. It was very fun to watch, very easygoing about its like structure. And the best part, the length was not really that long. However, I'm sure that this is not a good thing for NHL teams because players like the Tkachuk brothers, both going out there and playing injured. Chris Kreider doesn't play very well in that. But Trocheck,
Charlie McAvoy went to the hospital.
Trocheck gets injured. Charlie McAvoy went to the hospital. So having all these injuries is definitely not something you want. And obviously, the All-Star game, the players aren't going to play as hard as they would in a situation like this. But in this situation, this isn't just for some fancy trophy or like scholarship or whatever they give out, like a stupid check where you get to donate it to a charity and things like that, which is still very interesting and very cool. But it's not for your country like this is. And it's for pride. It's for your country. It's to show that your country's better than the other. And these guys, this is how they've been born and this is how they've been raised this entire time. This is something they're going to pour their hearts into. And unfortunately for NHL teams, that means injuries. And that's unfortunate for the league. I get that. Obviously, Matthew Tkachuk might miss a lot of the season. Charlie McAvoy's already been stated that he might miss the rest of the regular season for this. So just a lot of moving parts here for the NHL moving forward. A lot of different things they're going to have to figure out in terms of these things. But I still think they should keep it moving forward. I think they should have this every couple years. I don't think every year would work for this situation because it's going to lose its lust. And as soon as it loses its lust, we're going to be in the same situation as the All-Star game, except magnified by 10 because now the injuries are a major factor as well. So you're not only taking the fun out of the hockey, but you're also taking the players away from the more important thing in the NHL's eyes, being the Stanley Cup. So because of that, we definitely have to see this be an every couple years thing versus every year. But I'd like to know what your thoughts are on that. Do you think it should be an every year thing? Do you think it should be every few years? What do you think the format should be moving forward with the Four Nations face-off?
Yeah, that's what I agree. Every other year. So 2026, the Olympics, 2027, you go back to the All-Star. And 2028, they already announced they're bringing back the World Cup. So then you go World Cup, 2029 All-Star, 2030 Olympics, and you kind of see the trend from there, just like every other one of those. Because I think the All-Star still has some value. One, players aren't getting injured. Two, as like a fan aspect going to it. There's all the events. You can meet players, get things signed, stuff like that. It's a good family event, like if parents can take their kids to, because kids really like all-star games. Once you grow up, you realize they're kind of boring, but like it's still a nice family event where you can go and meet players and do cool things. So I get it has a little bit of value. And again, if it's not every single year, maybe players might care a little bit more in the all-star game. I don't know. Maybe not, probably not, but either way, I think if they do it every other year, I think it gives us a nice break, because also it loses its lust because the teams will mostly stay the same from one year to another. Unless there's major changes to USA's philosophy, the team will probably be pretty similar for the Olympics in 2026. Team Canada will probably be pretty similar. Teams Sweden, Team Finland, they'll all probably be pretty similar outside of like injuries and stuff changing things. But in 2028 for the World Cup, the teams are going to look a lot different than they do in 2026 because there's 2 years, players get older, stuff like that. Maybe players are now having down years, stuff like that. So I think if you have basically the same team every single year, it takes away from it. If you go every 2 years, the teams are changed a lot more, and I think it makes it more interesting. You have 2 years to sit on a heartbreaking loss, so you're more motivated for that to come back and get that win. So yeah, I agree. Also, one thing that I really love about this, the Four Nations face-offs, it's just brought so much attention to hockey. And then you have people like the Tkachuk brothers who are great personalities. I know they get hated on a lot. I personally love them. I get their Atlantic rivals to the Sabres, but I love the way they both play hockey. They're both hard-hitting. They both have those personalities. They're always down to drop the gloves and fight. And now they're going on like talk shows and stuff. When was the last time you saw a hockey player on a talk show? I legitimately do not remember. Matthew Tkachuk was just I think on Jimmy Fallon or one of them. And now you're getting this bigger audience. People like, oh, now there's hockey. Yeah, you see football players on all the time. You've seen like LeBron and Curry and stuff for basketball. I guess maybe baseball is kind of the same thing, but that's like the biggest thing is with baseball and hockey. Baseball's getting better at it, but just the lack of marketability for their stars. Where like the NFL and the NBA, everyone knows the top guys. You know your Patrick Mahomes, you know your Aaron Rodgers, your Tom Brady, your Josh Allen, you know your LeBrons, your Steph Curry. But if you ask the random person on the street, who's Connor McDavid, who's Sidney Crosby, who's Nathan McKinnon, they're not going to know. Maybe the same thing with baseball had the same problem with Mike Trout. If you asked who's Mike Trout, a fisherman, like how are they supposed to know? Like they're not going to know who. They're not going to know who these guys are. They're getting a lot better with like Aaron Judge being the face of New York. You're the face of New York. That's going to help. Shohei Ohtani being this superstar two-way guy. Baseball's getting better, but still like that. And if you can't market your stars, you can't really grow your game because that's what kids look up to. They see these stars. I want to be like him. And then it makes them want to play hockey or baseball, and it really grows the game. So I love that it's kind of brought attention in that way. Also, there's one more thing I want to bring up in my Team USA rant. If basically you take away the first 5 minutes of that third period against Finland, we didn't score more than 2 empty net goals or 2 non-empty net goals in any game. That's pretty bad for how talented Team USA is offensively. Like we had the 3 or 4 goals in the first 5 minutes of that third period against Finland. Then outside of that, I think we scored 2 goals. We scored 2 goals against Canada game 1. We just had elite defensive goaltending, which I get that's USA's strong suit is their defensive goaltending are better than their forward core. The forward core is not obviously still elite, but we still have a lot of elite guys. We should be able to score more than 2 goals. Sweden, they scored 1? Am I wrong? Maybe 0? I can't even remember that game. And then against Canada in overtime, they went into overtime or still only managed to score 2 goals. Like the offense just was not good. It wasn't just the Canada championship game. Just throughout the tournament, it was a little overrated, I guess. And I just wanted to bring that up because I was thinking about it. But yeah, I love the marketability that they're having towards these players now. And I really hope it grows the game to how it never really bad. It's always kind of been like the 4th sport. And especially in the US and Canada, obviously it's hockey. You live and breathe hockey, but in US, it's kind of been that out of the 4 pro, it's been that 4th sport. And I would just love to see the game grow because I think it's an absolute fabulous game to watch and enjoy.
Yeah, me too, man. And hopefully it gets better. But moving into the worst part of it, it's the Buffalo Sabres. This is the reason why hockey won't expand because we have teams like Buffalo who are not that great. Yeah.
I'm having trouble pointing, but yeah, I mean, you see my Sabres stuff.
I don't know how you can publicly display that stuff, but anyway.
The thing is, my dresser's on that side. If I had my desk over there, you'd be seeing you see my Bills wall that has like a Jim Kelly plaque, a CJ Spiller plaque, a Bruce Smith poster, a big Bills logo. So I have like Bills on one side.
So
and
in
then
other words, you
Sabres
should
on the
flip
other.
it to the other side so
But
people
my
can at least
dresser's
see it.
my
Okay,
dresser's over
okay.
there, so I don't have room on that wall to be able to put my desk. So yeah, you get stuck with the Sabres. Well, at least the Yankees are good. You get the goat.
Yeah, yeah. Ugh.
Derek
It's,
Jeter.
it's
Yeah,
it's Derek Cheater.
yeah. But at
But
least I can wear my awesome Josh Allen shirt.
yes, sir.
MV
MVP.
MV17, baby.
Yes, sir. Well, moving into the Buffalo Sabres side of things here, we have a lot of different players this season that we can talk about for trade candidacy with the deadline upcoming here shortly on March 7th at 3 p.m. So, what do you think of this Sabres team right now? Obviously, we just beat the Anaheim Ducks in thrilling fashion, down 2-0 heading into the third. It was an Alex Tuck goal, a JJ Paterka goal, and then the last goal being from Henry Okiharu. 3 goals in 5 games for Henry
Henry
Okiharu.
Goliuharu.
Yeah, I don't know what it's been,
I
but
don't know how to
after the
pronounce
Four
it.
Nations face-off, he's been very, very good. So hopefully that can maybe make it easier to trade a player like him. So what are your thoughts on some Sabres that we could see traded? What do you think the package in return could be? And what are your thoughts so far on the season itself?
Honestly, for the most part, I kind of just want to see us stay put. Really, the only player I'd want to see us trade away would be Jason Zucker, and that's if we can get a first-round pick. Someone offers us a first-round pick. I honestly don't really care who. I would love to trade it, and then we have a first-round. And I don't want to draft the guy, whoever we get that first-round pick with. But then in the offseason, we could go and use that first-round pick in a trade to go and get maybe the Elias Pettersson or maybe another defenseman. It's just more assets to make a trade because this Jason Zucker, I wouldn't be opposed to bring him back, but he's not going to be this good next year. His shot percentage is up like one of the highest it's been in his career, and wow, he's having the best season of his career. At age 31, you see these type of resurgence happen, and then the next year they kind of fall back down to. And I'm not even saying he's not a bad player when he'll be like a 40, 50 point guy, which isn't bad, but right now he's on pace for like a 60 point guy. So if we can get a first round pick out of him, I would absolutely love it. And then it kind of opens up a spot where maybe you come and you call up Isaac Rosen. You kind of see what we have out of him for the last 25 games. I know he's been cooking down in Rochester. Maybe you just want to keep him there. Maybe you call up Constance Salinas and Noah Ostlund. Like you kind of trade Zucker, and then it kind of opens up that spot to put someone in. Maybe now we have a spot, a more consistent spot for Zach Benson on the top 9 because he's been playing some fourth line minutes. I think there's kind of just an extra guy right now with how well Kulik's been playing. We're not going to send him back down. So I'm not saying just trade Zucker to trade him if we're not getting more than like a third and a bad prospect or something, or like a second by a contending team. So late second, no. But if someone offers us a first or like a second and a decent prospect, I would not be upset if we traded him away, but only him. I definitely want to keep Greenway and bring him back because he's that exact type of player we need more of. The hard-nosed, great defensive guys that can play bottom pairing, but also offers offense. Like you have Beck Malenstein and Sam Lafferty as those supposed fourth liners, but they don't offer anything offensively. Jordan Greenway, at least now, he's not a great he's never going to be more than like a 40-point guy, but like he offers a little bit of juice on the offensive side of the puck. So I definitely don't, he has that defense, he has that PK, has that physicality, but also offers something where I don't really want to trade him away. So I think only Zucker would be the only guy I'd want to see us trade away. And then really I only want to see us trade for if we're getting like a bona fide star for the future. Like I don't want to trade for any 1-year rental. We're probably not making the playoffs. Like it's like a 1% chance we do right now. We'd have to go to get to 90 points. We have to go 17-6-3 over the rest of and like our schedule after like this next week is pretty easy outside of the Hurricanes, but they kind of been struggling. Then it's the Canadians twice and the Sharks. But then after that, we go through like an absolute gauntlet. So like the chances of us winning that many games is pretty low. So we're probably going to end up with like 80 points is my guess. But maybe we can get to 90 and make a playoff spot, but it's like a 1 or 2% chance. So there's no reason to trade for any 1-year rental guys where we're giving up these prospects and picks that we can instead trade for in the offseason when we hopefully fire Kevin Adams and find someone with the balls to make a run for the playoffs instead of, I'm not going to make a trade just to make a trade. I like the guys we have in the room. I think we really have something here. We don't have we have taxes. We don't have palm trees, so guys don't want to come here. Yeah, and so I don't have to continue to hear those BS quotes over and over again, but that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is an intriguing off like topic thing, I guess, for the Sabres. But like I don't think that there's much to do right now. I feel like you're playing on impossible mode because if you're Kevin Adams, you can't make a trade here just to, like you said, just to make a trade. You can't trade just to make a trade, in my opinion, in this spot. But at the same time, if you don't trade somebody and go out and try to make the team better, you're probably going to get fired at the end of the season. And because of that, who knows what he'll do. I do think it's very intriguing to see what he'll do, considering it's almost like a desperation heave at this point for him. But the only way you go out and trade anybody is if it's like Elias Pettersson and a Carson Soucy from Vancouver for like Cousins, Quinn, and a first. Like, I would love that trade. I think that would be amazing. But
did you just take that off the one on Instagram? I'm pretty sure that was like the exact. There was a Sabres page I follow. Let me see if that was the exact trade. Yeah, Elias Pettersson, literally 4 hours ago, Sabres page and like the all hockey culture proposed to trade Elias Pettersson and Carson Soucy for Dylan Cousins, Jack Quinn, in the 2025 first.
that's crazy. That is
So
actually
the
crazy.
fact that you just said that without like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, like either way, though, I do think that it would be an amazing trade. I love Carson Soucy, and I've thought of Carson Soucy as a trade candidate for the Sabres for a couple seasons now. He's that right shot guy. He can play those second line minutes he has for Vancouver all season. He's played good. You put him on the line with like Byram, or like
I was gonna say
even
Power.
Darlene,
Darlene.
Byram, Power, and Soucy. That's a good top four, in my opinion. That's elite top four level play.
I mean,
And then on top of that, the bottom two on the final pair wouldn't really matter too much there. But either way, though, obviously Elias Pettersson would be the big fish in that trade. And you're trading away our first round pick. But in that spot, I would be okay with us winning out for all I give a crap.
Well, I would instead of trading it unprotected, I'd make it top four protected and throw in a prospect. I would rather be like make it top four protected and add in Isaac Rosen or Noah Ostlund for all I care. Because if we make that trade and then we end up with a top four pick, that would look really bad because like those guys are going to be studs. So that's why you make it top four protected, but be like, all right, we'll give you a prospect, a nice forward prospect, or well, we don't have much for defense core prospect, but yeah, no, I would love Soucy. And then I think then we probably don't become big spenders in free agency. And instead we just focus on bringing Bo and Byram back. I think we just focus on bringing our guys back. And then we just kind of run with that. I think if we make that trade, we definitely have to bring back Byram, or then we're in the same position where we have three good defensemen and three bad ones instead of having then Power has a legitimate pair. I just saw a stat. Darlene, Byram, and Power are all top 6 in the league out of all defensemen in goals per 60 on 5-on-5 play.
Yeah.
We have 3 elite offensive guys. The problem is Darlene's the only one that can play a lick of defense. So Darlene and Byram, you got the one that can play defense, but they're both great offensively. And then you have Power and Soucy, the guy who can play defense, Soucy, and then Power can kind of be the quarterback of the offensive side.
But then Jokiharju on the final line, power play, quarterback of that, the offensive wise, and then you got the defensive aspects for whoever you put on the left side.
But Henry Jokiharju sucks.
Jokiharju is actually not that bad. And the thing is like I'm glad that he's starting to play at least.
He's not good.
He's not good, but for a third line defenseman, I think that's
I mean, we'll probably hold on to Samuelson at that point if we can get off that contract. That'd be cool. I guess for a third pair defenseman is pretty bad.
Pretty bad. Oh, it's the worst.
And please at least get Henry Jokiharju off that second line. He is definitely not good enough to be a second liner.
See, that's what I'm saying. If you trade for a Carson Soucy, you can put Jokiharju in a spot where he's more inclined.
Maybe Jokiharju and Ryan Johnson.
See, and I'd be totally cool with that. But what I'm saying is if you do go out and trade for Carson Soucy at the deadline, you have an experiment to make with Jokiharju for the rest of the season. Play him on that third line, see how he does defensively, like offensive and defensively
would be
wise.
Then.
And as long as he plays serviceable on the third line over the last little bit of the season, I think you just run that back next year. And if not, try to find a trade partner for him and then sign somebody in free agency at that point. And I
Yeah.
would be completely okay with that, but don't overpay, obviously. But we'll see what happens with the Sabres. I think there's a lot of moving parts with them
Yeah.
for the
And then
trade deadline.
and then if you get Pedersen, your lines probably look like
Patterson, line one,
Pedersen, Paterka, Tuck first line,
Thompson.
Kulik, Thompson. Actually, I'm trying to think who would we actually, because I'd rather keep Paterka, Thompson, and Kulik together. Who'd be that other winger with Pedersen and Tuck? Maybe Benson, because then you can have two kind of
Joker?
defensive. I would say put Benson, because then you have two like defensive, hard-nosed, physical wingers to put with Pedersen, whose kind of weakness is he's not that physical. So you put
Well,
Benson and Tuck.
I'd put Zucker there because then you get a
I'm saying,
physical guy. You get a
but
physical guy, and then Pedersen's a playmaker, and then you got the scoring winger.
that's if we bring Zucker back, though. I don't know if we.
I'm
I
saying
don't know
for
if
this
we.
season, for the rest of this
Oh
year.
yeah, for the rest of the season, yes. I'm talking about, I guess, look in the off season, and then it's
that'd be
like
interesting.
then you put Benson there, and then your third line. I don't know who becomes your third line center. Maybe you
Krebs
keep
or McLeod.
Oh, McLeod. Bring back McLeod, Greenway, and call up like Isaac Rosen.
Yeah, and then Oslin plays fourth line, and then you sign a fourth line guy.
Or
and
actually, no. I'd rather have Oslin on the third line. You go because you don't really want someone like Oslin on the fourth line, or you can have a Peyton Krebs situation where it stunts his development.
Oslin literally in his draft class was ranked as like they do like mocks of like what the players like resemble, like who they resemble, and his player profile stated that he was the next Elias Pettersson.
Yeah, so I wouldn't want him on a fourth line. So then you go like Oslin, Greenway, and
Kulik.
No, because Kulik's the second line.
You're right.
I'm trying to think who am I
sign somebody.
Yeah, you can just probably sign someone for.
You're trying to fill a hole right now for Greenway in your head.
You could probably sign
McLeod.
Well, no, I would say then you have McLeod. I guess maybe, or you trade in the offseason.
I think Oslin could go to winger.
You could put
Oslin at wing.
Yeah,
Oslin at left wing, right wing. Greenway in the middle is McLeod.
No, maybe Helenis, because Helenis looks like he might be able to make it up next year. You go.
I think Helenis should play fourth line though. He's very good at he's very good at nothing is what they say, which means he's very good at not allowing goals but not scoring either. So like the fourth line, their whole goal is to just get back to the top lines without giving anything up.
I would love to put. I would say you put Helenis, Greenway, and Oslin, and then because I would really love McLeod as that fourth line center with his defense and speed, and then you put Malenstein, and then you maybe just go.
Somebody.
Yeah, and then you sign another speed guy, and then you
Lafferty should be gone. Lafferty better be exiled, bro.
Yeah, and then you just have 3 like top 5 percentile speed guys on one line. I think that would be that could cause some mayhem. And I mean, it's not like neither of them are like awful offensively. They're not good, but like they could both be like 30 point guys with elite defense and speed. So I would really like that as in this hypothetical scenario. But yeah, hopefully they just decide to trade Pettersson, but I think they're going to wait till the offseason.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, the Sabres are playing the Hurricanes tonight, so we'll see what they can do. But I guess we'll move into some MLB spring training.
First thing about the Sabres haven't won in Carolina since Chad Johnson was the goalie. I think I'm saying it right.
Yeah, Chad Johnson.
Yeah, that's
Chad Ochocinco.
Yeah, Chad Ochocinco was our goalie.
Honestly, I believe it. It's the Sabres back then.
Fuck
it. Throw CJ Spiller in that and put Tre'Davious White as the backup.
I was going to say Trey White, Goalie Academy. I remember that meme. That was so funny.
No, man, dude.
There's still someone with a Twitter account, Trey White for Vezina.
Oh, my God.
I interacted with him the other day, and I'm like, that's funny. What an elite poll that is.
Yeah. Either way, we move into some MLB spring training. Spring training starting to get ramped up here with the season very close to its start. Felt like a very short offseason. If I'm being honest, this offseason kind of went by quick, in my opinion. And so I guess we'll see what happens with
I think
But
with a lot of the big stuff happened earlier on. Usually a lot of times like the big star like a Juan Soto waits till later and then a lot of the dominoes fall afterwards. I think Soto signed earlier than a lot of big stars do. So then the dominoes fell pretty quickly. So mostly everyone was signed by like the first week in January outside of like Bregman and Rocky Sasaki. So like there wasn't a lot, like a lot of times into January and February, there's like, where are these guys going? There wasn't much of that this year. I think that's why it probably went by fast.
yeah, well, there's a lot of different moving parts for these teams right now. Again, with the Yankees and the Mets are two teams. Those will be the teams we'll talk about today, considering it's just spring training. But what are your thoughts on your Yankees, and what do you think is the ceiling and floor for them this year based off your expectations? What do you have them doing in this 2025 season?
I think the ceiling is definitely World Series. I think this team, I'm not saying they will. I think the ceiling is, though, like if this pitching is as good as advertised, top 3 rotation, top 3 bullpen, you can win. You can win off that any single year. The question is the offense and Aaron Judge in the postseason. Judge has shown flashes, and outside of these last 2 years, he's mostly been decent. So I think he'll find a way to turn it around. And I still think like a lot of these offseason acquisitions, like losing Soto hurts, and I don't think our offense will be as good as last year. But we upgraded at first base. If you're comparing to the opening day roster from last year, we upgraded at second base. Anthony Volpe's still very young. You expect him to take another step. Austin Wells at catcher, you expect him to take another step. At worst, they're the exact same you got last year. Left field is a wild card. I don't know how Jason Dominguez will be, but I think at worst he'll at worst be better offensively than Alex Verdugo. He'll be worse defensively, but I think he'll probably be at worst a similar player. So I think that's an upgrade there. Really, the downgrade is third base, but even then, it's basically the exact same you had third base to start last year with DJ LeMahieu and like Oswaldo Cabrera, which is pretty bad, but we still have through the trade deadline to upgrade, and I expect the Yankees to be able to do that. Hopefully they can get off Stroman's contract, so they'll want to spend more, because right now that's the big thing is Hal Steinbrenner doesn't want to be over that $300 million tax threshold. So he's trying to find a way to get out of Stroman's $18 million. I don't know where you send him to. Maybe there's a way that you can send him to the Cardinals in a Nolan Arenado trade, but it looks very, very unlikely that he goes to the Yankees. The Yankees don't seem very interested in him, probably because the Cardinals are trying to shed salary, so I don't think they're interested in Stroman, which kind of completely takes the Yankees out of it. And it looks like, if I had to guess, I think Arenado probably goes to the Astros. They've re-engaged in talks, and Arenado recently lifted like the Astros off his no trade list. So I think they probably work out a deal. But anyways, I think for the Yankees, I think their ceiling is definitely World Series. If that offense can be even top 10 next year, I think it has the ceiling of being like around 5th if Judge continues to be the way he does. I think Goldschmidt / Ben Rice is an upgrade over first base last year. I think Jazz is upgrade over Gleyber Torres. And then if Volpe, Austin Wells improve, and then I think Cody Bellinger is a good fit, batting behind the protection of Aaron Judge in the order and having that short porch, I think he can have a bounce back year. Jason Dominguez has shown a lot of potential, so he could have a good year. And I think the offense has the potential to be top 5. I don't think it will. I think it'll be more around the 10 range. But if it could be a top 5 offense with how good that pitching is expected to be, they could definitely make a run. And I think their ceiling is a wild card team. I just don't see a team like this missing the playoffs unless a bunch of people get injured, but I'm never going to predict that. As you look on paper, the bullpen is too good. The starting pitching's too good. And then with those things as good as they are, as long as you have an MVP candidate like Aaron Judge as a hitter, even if everything else fails, like even in 2022, outside of Aaron Judge, that offense was awful. The bullpen is worse than it was now. And the starting pitching was, outside of Garrett Cole, much worse than it was now. And Aaron Judge missed 2 months, and they still ended up 82-80. They still were kind of close. Now the bullpen and pitching's a lot better, and the offense looks better. Can't be worse than it was in 2022. So I think because of that, I think at worst the Yankees are a wild card team. I think like upper 80 wins is their floor, and I think like 100 wins winning the World Series is probably their ceiling.
Yeah, very fair. For the Mets, we've been dealing with this good old friend that we missed so fucking much in the injury bug. AJ Minter.
Starting pitching's rough.
Yeah, AJ Minter has been injured. Christian Scott's been injured. Drew Smith's been injured. Frankie Montes has been injured. Sean Mania has been injured. Nunez, of course, has been injured. We've had so many injuries already, and it's just they're gonna pile up at some point. So I'm gonna say right here, right now, for the New York Mets, our floor is a probably a 75 win season. 70 to 80 wins is probably our floor here, just because the injuries could catch up to us. The injuries like really can always do that to you, like the Yankees a couple years ago, 82 and 80 in that year. Like, like I just feel like that could happen to the Mets. And like you can have the best offense in the world, but if you don't got the pitching to complement it, it's nothing. And so I think on the other side, though, the ceiling for the New York Mets is I would say, championship series. I don't think that we make it out of the conference this year, unfortunately. But I like the addition of Juan Soto. I'm glad we brought back Alonso. I think the offense is going to be there this year. It's just about that pitching. And when you get to October, when you get to the time of the year where you have to start pitching, if we look like we do right now with our pitching staff, we're not going to be able to compete with like half the teams in the conference. We're talking about out of the two conferences, no offense to the Yankees, but you guys play in the easiest conference,
Yeah,
of
the
the
easier
two.
the AL's I think the AL will be better than it was last year. But yes, I agree.
It's
It is
still the
definitely worse.
easier
Yeah,
conference.
no,
We
I
still
I
have to
agree.
worry about the Braves and Phillies within the division as well. I mean, those aren't going to be easy matchups. The Cubs only got better. The Brewers are probably going to be good again in the Central. So that's two more teams to look at. And that's all without mentioning the freaking Dodgers, who are the best team in baseball currently because they just don't ever not spend money. And so because of that, I feel like our ceiling's probably losing to them in the championship series once again, and our floor would probably be 70 to 80 wins overall this season. So I don't really know what to really say about the injuries. Obviously, knock on wood that they don't happen, but we've seen it happen before. So I would say our floor is around 70 to 80 wins due to those injuries. And then on the other side, again, it's just I feel like the championship series is about as far as we can go. I feel like no matter what, we'd lose to the Dodgers. It's just a matter of when we would play them. And then I could also see us losing in the playoffs to teams like the Braves or the Padres or maybe even the Phillies. Like I could see us losing to some other teams as well. So because of that, realistically, I'm going to say our ceiling's the championship series. It took so much last year to get there. It's just that's not sustainable. You're not going to get a freaking miracle home run like you did with Pete Alonso in the wild card against the Brewers, which I freaked out, but you're not going to get that very often. We owned the Phillies in the second round, sure, but we only made it to six because the Dodgers didn't want to ruin their pitching rotation. So realistically, I feel like our ceiling is going to have to be a championship series against them again. But excited to see what happens with the season for the Mets and the Yankees, of course. Fuck the Yankees. Hopefully, you guys suck. Joke's on you. But either way, thank you guys. Is there anything else you want to add? Or are we
No,
good?
I guess well, the big announcement for the Yankees is the facial hair policy. They're now allowing beards. Well-groomed beards. I see Yankees fans upset about this. It's 2025. What are we doing? Who cares? I get like the whole professional thing. Like you don't want people looking like, and I think it was Brian Cashman or Hal Steinbrenner's quote. You don't want them looking like they're from Duck Dynasty. I get the profession, the being professional. You don't want the super long hair that doesn't look that clean, or like a super like hairy
Rugged.
beard. Yeah, rubble. You don't want stuff like that. But a well-groomed beard is very professional in these standards. You get a stash and a well-groomed beard, that it looks very nice if it's kept clean.
You just got
And
to give them the
players have,
Hitler stash. Every player has to have the
yeah.
Hitler stash, and they're not on our team.
And then
Everybody.
like players have said they don't want to come here because of it, which I think is a very stupid reason to not want to play for a ball club over a beard. But players have said that. So like if you're losing out on players because you're stubborn enough to not let them grow a
This is why
clean
Juan
beard.
Soto left.
Now Juan Soto left because of another stupid reason.
Yeah.
But anyways, if like then that's just bad management. Like I get it's a stupid reason to not want to play, but players have their reasons, and if that's a reason, then you're just setting yourself up to fail. I don't know if this is actually true if someone's decided, oh, I'm not playing for the Yankees because of it, but it's just a report I've heard. So Either way, I like it. I don't think they should expand off that. I think like clean cut hair, a well-groomed well-groomed beard and mustache, I think is the best you can go, because outside of that, then I get they can kind of look cool at times. Like a mullet would look really funny in the Yankees, but like the professional look, I completely understand and I completely respect, and I think they should continue with it. It's kind of, they're the most storied franchise in all of sports. It's New York City, so I get why they want to continue with that legacy of being like that. So that I love the change. I've been saying it was dumb that they couldn't allow beards for the longest time, but yeah, I think that's cool. It's going to be interesting to see who grows a beard and who doesn't. I hope not everyone does. Like someone like Aaron Judge, I hope continues with the clean shaven face. I don't think he looked, but like Garrett Cole or Carlos Rodon, when they have beards, they're demons. So bring them back. Bearded Garrett Cole, and I think it was the 2019 playoffs. Like, please give me him. Bearded Carlos Rodon on the San Francisco Giants. Bring me him. Like, that would be pretty
Why don't
cool.
you guys take Clay Holmes back?
No, thank you. You can have him all you want. I'll pass on that. Let him enjoy time in Queens, blowing games for you from the start instead of the end.
Yeah, we're gonna make it to the World Series, and we're gonna game 7.
He's gonna allow.
It's 11-0 after the first inning.
He just walks like just 9 straight walks. Doesn't throw a single strike.
And then Aaron Judge grand slam.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that would be poetic.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
No. But I guess that will be it for today's episode. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the Sports Lab podcast with me and Alex. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, I'm sure, to give you guys some more updates on everything going on, the NHL trade deadline news. We'll talk about the trades that happen at that. We'll probably give you a mock draft here shortly as well, with the draft coming up in a little over a month. So we'll see what ends up happening, but thank you guys so much for watching another episode. I'm Thomas, alongside me, Alex, and we'll see you guys next time.